greatly and deeply appreciates what you've said. What's the answer?
It just so happens. I have an answer. I trust that each of us have an answer as well. I mean, we've got to get away from me to we, right? This is Michael Moore's great contribution in the movie Sicko, which just came out. The idea that somehow you can't just take care of yourself. If you do that, we will sow the seeds of dissolution of the fabric of a great democracy. We have got to find some way to recognize that we are in it together, as nations, as families, as cultures, internationally, and we have to relate to the universe, this magnificence outside, in a way that reminds us that it doesn't belong to us, we belong to it, and that we are obligated in some way to share the gift of what we've got in a way that reminds us of our noblest selves. The way to do that is to find a way to break down the boundaries that separate us, instead of a culture which increases the likelihood that we are isolating ourselves. The greatest cause of fear and depression is isolation and the absence of a sense of loving community. That's the task.
Now let's think about this for a moment. I've said this a number of times when I'm giving lectures. If everyone accepted what I believe we should be doing from a general health point of view, all the pop would go away, the sugar industry would collapse, McDonald's and all of its clones would disappear, the pharmacomafia would be reduced to about 15 or 20% its current size. Just starting with that, forgetting about the rest of industry, that would put us at this moment in a depression much more severe than the 1929. So evolution to get to this stage is certainly more critical than revolution. And in a sense, we have to educate people so broadly that the people will demand change, demand less pop, demand less McDonald's junk. And unless we can do that and have it take place over a 20 to 30 year period, it'll be virtually impossible. Secondly, there is no way we can offer drugs and surgery to everybody who fails to take good care of themselves. We can't offer bypass surgery to 1/3 of our population. It's not possible physically for 1/3 of the people in this country at this point in time are fat enough that they could justify intestinal bypass surgery. So what's the answer for that?
The answer is clear. I mean, I don't know what the question is. We are spending $30 billion a year in bypass surgery. 3 million Americans. It's costing us a fortune. We're getting fatter. We're going to have to do it more. We know if they change their behavior, they wouldn't require it. There isn't a cardiologist or an internist I know that doesn't say to their patient, I can do bypass surgery. But unless you change your behavior, unless you stress less, unless you eat better, unless you exercise more, stop drinking and smoking, you're going to be back in 5 to 7 years. How many people do you think change their behavior? Less than 10% of the people change their behavior, because people don't change their behavior just because you have impressed them with the imminence of their mortality. People change their behavior if you touch their heart and souls and get them to become, as Gladys is suggesting, the principal agents in their own healing, to become and own that physician within. To change people's behavior, to touch their hearts, you have to make a connection with them. We are becoming disconnected from patients. We spend no time. The average length is 3 to 4 minutes. It's about what this country can afford. You can't touch somebody's heart. They can't trust you. They can't believe that you have their best interest at heart, that you know them as an individual. You got to find some way to touch the heart and soul of who they are, not just their heads. And in a culture in which immediacy of gratification is, well, you know, if my arteries are clogged, it's easy to go in for surgery, 75 to 80% is already successful, there's no danger of loss, it's simply easier. Just as it's easier to medicate your kids to deal with their behaviors.
Right on. Until we shift from medicine the way it is, which is a killing machine, to a living process, nothing's going to change, because the medicine that we were taught and the medicine that's still being taught in medical school is totally dealing with destruction. and killing. You kill bacteria, eradicate AIDS, eliminate diabetes. Our language is against life itself. We have cancer support groups, so you support the cancer. We have a diabetes support group, so support the diabetes, you don't support the patient. You know, until we move from killing medicine to living medicine, we're not going to be able to do anything. Living medicine, if we're alive, we're going to have pain, we're going to have diseases, we're going to have ways of dealing with them, but our focus is going to be on life, not on death. And in relationship to fear, I had a patient who had lung cancer. She came in to see me, and she said, you know, she'd had all the chemo and so on. She'd required a blood transfusion. And she said, I can't get the blood transfusion because I'm scared. Well, I said, what are you afraid of? Afraid of AIDS and hepatitis. Of course, that's silly because she's dying of cancer, but fear is fear. And it doesn't matter that it's silly. It's not funny, it's just fear. So I tried to reassure her that this was not a reality, that this wouldn't happen, didn't make any difference, until I finally said to her, maybe you could look at it this way. There's somebody in this world who loved you enough to give their life-blood for you. That's what a blood transfusion is. So when she was able to take her heart off of the fear issue and put it onto love, she was able to get the blood transfusion. So I think our focus has to shift from the disease to the person. The person that has a disease, not the disease that has the person.